Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we are featuring an interview with a very peculiar-looking gentleman.
CT Live. I'm Levi.
And I'm Matt. In today's stories, a new crime wave is sweeping the country in the form of woolen graffiti. Scientists have invented an invisibility cloak. We helped them find it. And the latest in weather around the country, but first a story that will turn your world upside down.
If you think the world is getting more and more topsy-turvy, turns out you're right. Builders in Germany have built an upside-down house, and before you think they have read the plans upside down, they did it on purpose. The wacky board was built as a tourist attraction, as well as being a comment on the state of the world. The house is 23 feet tall and rests on its roof, and has steel beams in the attic. Inside the house there are beds screwed into the ceiling, upside-down wardrobes, an upside-down kitchen, and even an upturned bathroom. Though it's not known if anyone has tried to have a bath in it, or go to the toilet. Normally a house like this would take 3 weeks to build. This one took over 4 months because workers kept getting confused by the strange angles of the walls. Many tourists visiting the house complain of feeling sick and dizzy after just a few minutes inside. We now cross over to our reporter Dayton, who is inside the house. How are you feeling, Dayton?
Thanks, Levi. I'm here with Mr. Wobbly. I'm feeling really nauseous. So what made you decide to build an upside-down house?
It's me, I'm an upside-down person.
So, what comment do you feel about the house for the state of the world?
Try something new.
What are some of the challenges of living in an upside-down house?
Falling down, hurting myself, bleeding all over the place.
Have you ever been to the hospital? And if so, how many times?
Yes, I have. 756 times.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Dayton for CT Live News. Back to you, Matt.
Thanks, Dayton. Even watching that makes me feel like vomiting. And now for a story that is truly out of sight. Look out, Harry Potter. The world of science is catching up to the world of magic. Scientists in Europe have created a 3D invisibility cloak, which can hide objects by bending light waves. It has been found that light can be controlled using special tiny crystals that make objects disappear. So far, scientists have made small objects such as coins disappear, but hope that it won't be long before they are hiding cars, planes, and even people. People have always dreamed of making themselves invisible. One top scientist says the possibilities are endless. And we are very excited. However, since inventing the invisibility cloak, the scientists have been having trouble finding it. As soon as we put it down somewhere, it just disappears, the inventor of the cloak said. It appears they are having trouble finding other things too, like their lunch, which they think may be underneath the cloak. But what will this invention actually be used for? Hoping to see through the reasons behind the invisibility cloak, here is our on-the-spot reporter Olivia with more on the story.
Hello, I'm Olivia, and with me today I have Professor Lewis. He is one of the mad scientists behind the invisible cloak. Also with him today, he has brought his mad assistant, Sarah. Professor Lewis, what inspired you to make the cloak?
Well, Harry Potter.
That's very interesting. How does the cloak work?
Now you see him, now you don't.
Wow, awesome. What do you hope the cloak will be used for in the near future?
and world domination in peace and happiness.
Wow, interesting. Could I try it on?
Okay. Can you stand over here? Okay. Now you see her. Now you don't.
Well, that's it, folks. That makes things very clear. Back to you, Matt.
Thanks, Dayton and Olivia. And now, how's this for an interesting yarn? A new wave of graffiti crime is covering the country thanks to an underground gang known as the Midnight Knitters. These wall-waving criminals are covering tree branches and lampposts with small jerseys and scarves under the cover of darkness. Police say the knitted activities of the gang are illegal because the woolly crimes are being done on public property without permission. The popularity of woolen graffiti is growing and more public objects are being wrapped up every night. Police warn that if the Midnight Knitters aren't caught very soon, every tree, lamppost and traffic light in the country will soon be warmly wrapped against the cold. The problem is spinning out of control. They're a close-knit group of dyed-in-the-wool criminals. They are stitching together a case, but it's not seamless. There is no real pattern to the crimes, a policeman spokesman said today. So far, the criminal knitters have escaped arrest and continue to pull the wool over the eyes of both the public and the police. We go now to a secret location with our investigative reporter, Dayton, who has an exclusive interview with one of the Midnight Knitters gang.
And joining me today, thanks Levi. Joining me today is the Midnight Knitting Gang. Now, what are your names?
Cara and Rocky.
Now, what led you to the dark underworld of knitted graffiti?
The darkness, the graffiti, and the knitting.
Do you see yourself as a criminal?
Yes, because we go around at night time putting knitted things around things like lampposts and things like that.
Apart from trees, lampposts and traffic lights, what else would you like to graffiti with your woolens?
Cars, chairs, tables,
Buildings.
and carpets.
Why do you like being in a gang?
Because we get to put bits of material and things like that around people.
Thanks for your time. Over to you, Alexandra and Juliet.
Thank you, Ben. And good evening, New Zealand. Let's have a look at tomorrow's weather. Staying in the far northern Kaitaia, look out for some pretty flash flooding and raindrops as big as your head. If you're going outside, wear a hat. Moving down to Auckland, there'll be a mix of fair conditions and unfair conditions, but these are the conditions and you'll just have to accept them. There'll be no weather at all for the Bay of Plenty, and it's taking a short holiday, but is expected to be back for the weekend. In Napier and Hastings, there'll be the weather will sometimes be changeable and sometimes not. We have no idea what will happen there. In the Taranaki, a mild depression brings with it a very dull day and no highlights at all. It will be overcast and gloomy all morning, but things should cheer up by the evening, so don't worry, everything will be fine.
Wellington will have another capital day. There will be no wind at all, and the day conditions will be so pleasant they'll actually be extreme. In the top of the South Island, Kaikoura can expect
to have a good day, meeting friends for lunch, going for a swim and reading the newspapers, but try to stay indoors as the weather will be just terrible. A real mix for Christchurch, which will have some unreasonable rainfall, some sensible wind, moderate thunderstorms and some very angry snow. And in the lower south, Dunedin will be frosty, cold and unfriendly until late morning, when the sun will pop over for a visit. Everybody likes the sun. That's all from me. Remember, if it's raining outside, that's the weather for you. Good night, New Zealand. Now it's back to the news desk with Levi and Matt.
Thanks, Alexandra. Well, that's all we have time for. We hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.
Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Until then, I'm
Levi.
And I'm Matt for CT Live News.
Goodbye in Nohora.
Roll the camera. Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we are featuring an interview with a very peculiar-looking gentleman.
Scene 1, take 1.